On today's show, I'm trying something different. I'm bringing in 3 fans from Mavs Twitter to talk about their expectations for the season and how they've changed so far this year. How have the Mavericks changed expectations for fans? Where are the fans right now? How are they feeling? And how do they feel about the organization, the Mavericks themselves, Mark Cuban, Jason Kidd, and others actually addressing Mavs Twitter as a thing? We'll talk about that and break it all down on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Engstead, media member, NBA channel manager. Very specific title there. NBA channel manager, not manager of the whole thing. A couple of people tweeted at me and said, manager of the whole network? No, just NBA channel. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. Remember, Locked On Mavs is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. You can go watch us right now at Locked On Mavs. We're getting to 9,000. We're going over 9,000 in our subs. Also, thank you so much for listening to the pod. Isaac is off today. He will be on for the weekend shows. We're getting into it. We're going to talk to a couple fans today to talk about and address what they feel about this team right now. The Dallas Mavericks are playing the Brooklyn Nets tonight. If you're listening and watching to this on a Tuesday, they'll be facing off against them. Kevin Durant and James Harden are set to play. Kyrie Irving obviously is still out. Joe Harris is out for the Nets as well. Luka and KP practiced both on Monday. They are both in doubt, I guess sort of doubt. Luka is listed at this point as questionable. KP listed as probable. I'm assuming that they both didn't play in that last Memphis game because they're trying to get them ready for this game. This Brooklyn game coming up is a TNT game. It's a big one, and the Dallas Mavericks are going to want them to be ready for this one, where they're going to be on the national stage and all that. Tim Hardaway Jr. also listed as questionable. Willie Cauley-Stein is still out. So I'm assuming everybody plays. It's going to be a healthy game for the Mavericks, and this will be a big test. Massive test for the Mavs. The Mavs are 6-5 at home. They're obviously in this skid where they've lost 7 of their last 9. And the Nets are 8-2 on the road at this point. And obviously the Nets are just a very good team. So that's what's coming up on the docket for the Dallas Mavericks. Isaac and I will have a breakdown right after that game. So you'll be able to get that here. But let's talk to our first fan. Let's bring in Smurf to talk about his expectation for the Mavs and the one player that he's just done with. He's done with this player, and it may not be the player that you expect. So let's go in and talk to him. All right, bringing in my first guest fan of the show, fan of the Mavericks for a long time, Smurf. Smurf, how are you feeling about the Mavs right this minute?
I'm feeling pretty average, Nick. How are you feeling?
Average. Not too low, not too high, just average, just like where the Mavs are right now, it feels like.
Yeah, right in the middle of the pack. Right, exactly.
What were your expectations going into the season, and how have the Mavs not hit those expectations, or have they?
I think I expected a lot. I think I was one of those people that definitely thought, like, because COVID won't be as big of an impact, we might actually be top 4 in the West like we would have been last year had we not had half the team out for like 6 weeks. So yes, my expectations were probably too high, because I was basing it off of how we played last year under a different coach.
What do you think is the biggest issue for the Mavs right now? What's the reason why they've lost 7 of their last 9. If you're listening to this on Monday, what's your thoughts on what the big issue is?
Shooting. I mean, of course,
Fair.
that's the one we can help the least, as Isaac pointed out. But yeah, I mean, they just can't hit the broadside of a barn for the most part, and that's why we're losing.
You mentioned earlier about coaching. What have you thought about Jason Kidd so far as a coach, and just comparing him to Rick Carlisle after having Rick Carlisle for so long as a coach?
It's almost impossible to assess because we're not there with them, so we don't exactly know what's going on. But I think from a 10,000-foot view, the vibes don't seem immaculate.
Great vibes, Alex. Great vibes.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that they really know what they're doing.
But the Mavericks do, the coaching staff, just in general.
Like, they don't know how to handle what they have, and I don't know if they really have the answers at the current moment.
So you're saying that
So I want to, be able to touch the car.
that Jason Kidd is coming in and he wanted to touch the car and he doesn't know what kind of car he has. It's too much car for him at this point.
Yeah, he's like doesn't know which side of the car he's supposed to sit on and stuff. Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure what to make of him yet, but he's definitely not Rick.
Were you coming into the Jason Kidd experience? Were you sold? Were you like, okay, I can see how this can be a fit, or were you just not for it at the beginning? Because it's interesting to see how people have changed their view of Jason Kidd. Either they were kind of for it, and now it just seems like they're against it because the Mavs aren't doing well, or they were excited about Jason Kidd and maybe are the opposite now.
I was not super upset about it. Now, I thought at the end of the day, I thought it was just lazy. I thought it was a lazy coaching hire because it was like, let's just get the guy that's around and who has done this a couple of times to middling success. I just didn't think it was very much thinking outside of the box going on with the Kidd hire.
Sure. It was a guy that had been around the Mavs organization for a long time, and he was a player there. He won a title there. And
and he probably had Cuban's ear for a while. And
apparently Cuban's ear is a really valuable commodity if you want in the Mavs organization.
Some might say too much. Yes.
What are your thoughts on this whole idea of Mark Cuban addressing Mavs Twitter as a thing and have the Mavs Twitter account actually calling out Mavs Twitter by saying, look, you got Moses Brown. You can finally chill out because Moses Brown got one start. Or Jason Kidd even addressing Mavs Twitter when he announced that Moses Brown was going to start. What's your thoughts on that? As one of the reasons why I brought three fans on, it's three fans from Twitter to talk about this whole situation and the Mavs, addressing the fans in Mavs Twitter as a whole group.
I think, to put it bluntly, I think it's kind of immature. I think it's like, you're the professional being paid a lot to be a professional and not care about what the masses are saying. Now, granted, I do my fair share of bitching on Twitter, like most people in the Mavs land do.
As we do.
But they shouldn't be listening to it as much as they are, it sounds like.
What do you think are the things that are getting to them? What are the things that people are complaining about that you think gets to them?
I mean, it's just like whatever player isn't playing, that's the reason why we're losing.
Who's the player right now that you personally feel, man, if that guy played more, maybe the Mavs would win? Because it does seem like there's always one guy.
From week to week, it goes from Moses to Josh. Now, I'm still a little bit on Josh Island.
Okay. Somebody's got to be there. There's real estate to be had.
I'm still kind of there. A lot of fans have left the island, but I'll remain at least for another 40 games or so.
What's the biggest issue that, quote unquote, Mavs Twitter is asking for or is demanding that the Mavericks aren't giving them?
New players.
You just want new players. You just want them out. Is there anybody you want out that you're like, I'm done with this guy. Bring in somebody new.
Yes. And this is going to really make people mad. And it's kind of spicy, but I'm kind of over Dorian.
Ooh.
I know. It's really bad.
I don't think you're alone in that. I read a lot of, Reddit and Facebook and all kinds of comment sections. It seems like people are done with him too.
Yeah. I mean, he is a great offensive rebounder. Right?
I got to give you the ding. That's Isaac's phrase.
I can't watch him brick another open three again. It's just it just pains me at this point. But good on him for being an undrafted free agent and figuring it out.
Is there any other take you just want to get off your chest right now about the Mavs? Is there something that's annoying you or frustrating you? You just got to get off your chest.
Nothing in particular. I think like most people, if I'm watching the same five guys start next year, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Bring in a new starter. Would you demand one new starter, two? If it's one new starter, are you okay? Like if Reggie Bullock starts.
We need at least two. It can't be Dwight Powell, Dorian, THJ, KP, Luka again. It's just no more.
There you go. Smurf, appreciate you jumping on with me.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, coming up, we're going to talk to one of the leaders, in my opinion, of Mavs Twitter, Ruben, a.k.a. Reddit Mavs. I'm going to talk to him about the comments Mark Cuban made about Mavs Twitter and what is his expectations going into the season. How have they changed from a fan's perspective? How has it changed so far for him? And see if you agree with him coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Truebill. Truebill is what you need right now. If you have so many subscriptions that you can't keep track of it, there's subscription for your dog, there's subscriptions for yourself, there's subscriptions that you get on behalf of other people. Truebill is a new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill. How many of us couldn't use $720 more this year? All of us, because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel. Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. If you always wanted to order somebody around and say, go get my things for me, go cancel this for me, go cancel my subscription, you can do that with Truebill. Their concierge is there for you. So don't fall for the scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now. Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. It could save you thousands a year. Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Also want to tell you about Theragun. If you got stress, maybe it's from all those subscriptions that you've got, but if you have stress that weighs on your daily life, if it's the Mavericks, every time somebody airballs a three, just a little like twinge, I can just see some of you that there's just a twinge in your muscles just hits you. If you have that, Theragun is the thing for you to help like get out those knots, to get out the Mavs missed threes knots that you have. It's a handheld percussive device that releases your deepest muscle tension using a scientifically calibrated combo of speed, power, and depth. It's as quiet as an electric toothbrush, and the Gen 4 Theragun doesn't just feel good, it gets to the source of pain by releasing tension. So try the Theragun for 30 days, starting at only $199. Go to therabody.com/lockedon right now. Get your Gen 4 Theragun today, and you can try it free. Go to therabody.com/lockedon, therabody.com/lockedon. All right, now welcome in Ruben, aka Reddit Mavs on Twitter. Nefarious? Notorious? Which one would you rather be called?
Nefarious sounds real bad. I think notorious would be.
But like Michael Jackson's song "Bad" like turned the word "bad" into like a good thing, right? So maybe nefarious is we can turn it around. We rebrand it, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Bringing in Reddit Mavs, one of the voices I think of the Mavs fan base. Whenever people say Mavs Twitter, it's one of the first names that comes up is your name. So I wanted to get your opinion on what did you expect from this Mavs season so far? Like coming into the season, what did you expect this team to be?
Man, honestly, and I'm more of a homer than I think a lot of people are sometimes. And I was like top four seed, probably in that fourth spot. Like, I felt like there are teams that actually aren't doing very good right now that would have been, like above us. I know we're kind of falling in sands right now, but at the time I was thinking, okay, top four seed, KP having his, first, healthy offseason forever. Luka would, get in that second gear or that, that new gear. I thought Jalen Brunson, which he has been for the most part, has kind of, ascended a little bit into a more, kind of the guys I feel comfortable for the most part being in the closing lineup and stuff like that. I thought, Reggie Bullock and having Sterling Brown would be like great additions and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely had us in the top four seed. I felt pretty good about it. So
it's coming in. I mean, that's about what I felt too. I mean, all those things I think are valid coming in, expecting, being optimistic, thinking that things would go up, especially from the fan perspective, being a fan. But what changed so far? What has changed so far? You were all right. Mavs can be top four. I'm feeling good about this team. Everybody's gonna take a step forward. Now where are you? Because there's a couple names you mentioned there where you're like, well, I thought Reggie Bullock would do this. What has changed your expectations and what are they right now?
I mean, just like we're not hitting shots. Like I know I've seen that, that stat where it's like we're like one of the best ones in the league to, have open shots and we're just not hitting anything. And like you brought in Reggie Bullock to be like one of those guys that would just like hit open shots and just hasn't done it. I haven't looked at the stats in a couple of days, so I don't even want to look. But
you're just avoiding the stats because you don't want to see them right now.
Yeah. No, I'll see them.
I think I can respect that.
Yeah, it's like I'll see them on my timeline. I'm like, no, I gotta look at it real quick. I'm like, okay, let me just like forget about this. Sterling Brown obviously was kind of. I felt he was brought in to kind of be like almost like a Reggie Bullock backup, almost, where it's like he can kind of do the same stuff.
Yeah.
Except in a lesser capacity, and he just even his like lesser capacity, he hasn't been able to hit any the marks that he did last year. Obviously in another limited role. Kristaps being hurt has been kind of weird just because it's like, oh man, like you had a full healthy offseason and now it's like, well, not so much, like he's already missed a ton of games this season. And obviously when Luka goes down, the entire machine breaks down. So it's just like, and he's been out a few times this year already. So
That's the first time I've had to do the Kristaps Porzingis had a full healthy offseason take a drink bit in weeks. I think we haven't mentioned that because it's been weird. He's all of a sudden been out. He's probable for the the Nets game coming up on Tuesday. If you guys listening to watching this, but what's your take on Porzingis' season so far? Have you been disappointed by it? Have you?
So the only times I've been disappointed is because he's been out. I feel like he's been getting into his groove a little bit more. He looks a lot more mobile, especially compared to last year.
Right.
From when he's on the court anyway, he looks a lot more mobile, and I'm hoping I'm not jinxing that, but I'll knock on some wood. But like he's looked better out there. Like I feel like they are giving him more of the post more of the touches that he wants, and like sometimes it is frustrating when he's going up against like someone who's like a foot shorter than him, and he still can't like get to the basket. It's almost like he still does that whole thing where he's like fading away, stuff like that. I'm like, dude, like you're literally a foot taller. Like just go to the basket, please. Like,
right.
But I also think that's more of a mental thing where it's like, he's been hurt, like those are times where he's been hurt going to the basket. So I feel like a little bit that is a little more mental, but obviously like I'm at that point, I'm a armchair analyst, and it's like, okay,
Aren't
like,
we all?
yeah, it's like, like I could say that, but also then it's like, like, maybe I shouldn't like, think I know exactly like what's going on all the time and stuff like that. So
there's been a couple of instances this season, and this is one reason I wanted to get a bunch of fans on today, is that especially fans from Mavs Twitter, where Mark Cuban has specifically mentioned Mavs Twitter, or Mavs Twitter, or the Mavericks Twitter account has mentioned Mavs Twitter. You can finally got Moses Brown. You can chill out. Or Jason Kidd mentions Mavs Twitter. What do you think about Mavs Twitter being lumped in as like this group, this kind of portrayed as an angry mob, basically, demanding these things? And what things are you demanding if you are?
This monolith.
It seems like that though. It's become a character. Like even the Mavs Twitter account tweeted about it.
It's interesting. It's really interesting hearing about this. Like kind of seeing it happen live, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like we usually aren't, and I know like back in the day, Cuban was always, oh, like Twitter's Twitter, blah blah. And it's interesting that like now it's like, okay, now we've become like almost like this weird force of just like chaos, where it's like there's so many different like personalities. Like there's me, there's some new guy, Mavs Burner, who's been posting these videos, like these like lip sync videos, and it sounds like there's one of like Cookie Monster and like some other stuff, and I'm like, it's basically like Mavs Twitter being angry, and I'm like, well, that's hilarious, like, but I don't know, man, like it's almost flattering because it's like, okay, like you guys do read our tweets, you guys do see our tweets, you guys like, like I think a while back someone was like, oh, like I think Jalen Brunson responded to me, and someone went in my DMs and was like, it's hilarious that I think people have like the team has seen your tweets. And I'm like, that's cool. Like,
yeah.
So they see when I get mad, at whoever. I'm sure, like, as a professional and as like as a athlete, like they're not putting much stock into that. Like I peaked in like what JV baseball when I was like 15. Like
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like I'm not like not even the same sport, but it's just interesting, and I'm. Like, I don't want them to think that we're being antagonistic all the time. Like, there are people who are like, will give props when props are due. Like, I will be like, oh, like, great play, or like, that was a good idea. Like, I have the thing where it's like, when someone throws a basketball off the defender and it goes out of bounds, it's like, that's a very vet savvy move. Like, that was awesome. Good job. Keep doing that. Like, that's super smart. But yeah, like, it's just interesting kind of see like where Mavs Twitter was like before like we kind of blew up to like where it is now, because like you can even look back at like when like 2011 2010, like Mavs Twitter wasn't a thing. Like I was on it on my personal account and it wasn't very active, like it was maybe a tweet here or there, like whatever, and now it's just like constant. Like I will tweet something and I'll like not look at my phone for like 2 hours, and all of a sudden I have like 30 notifications when I get back, and I'm like, oh crap. Like
what happened? Who said what?
What I do?
What new member of Mavs Twitter has just popped up out of nowhere?
Yeah.
What are the things that so you say it's portrayed as like this angry mob, this monolith like mentality? What are the things that you think Mavs Twitter is demanding from the Mavericks that they're not getting right now?
I mean, I think it's not really towards the players. I think it's mostly towards like the front office and just being like, hey, like obviously we can't get turn back time. Like, 2020 happened, like the, draft and everything.
Yep.
And 2019, like, the draft, the free agency class and all that stuff. Even like this past class where I was like, oh man, there's a bunch of guys that I personally was like, and most of the guys are now on the Bulls, but there's a lot of guys where I was like, a lot of guys where I like that guy, I like that guy on the team. I think it's mostly towards the front office, just being like, hey, like, please get your stuff together. And please, like I tweeted the other day, I was like, I don't envy Nico Harrison's job. Like, I don't envy it at all. Like, this is going to be a really weird offseason, I think, for everyone, because we don't know what to expect. I think, like, with the old regime, like, we kind of knew, like, what's going to happen and what's not. And Nico's just, he's an unknown commodity at this point, in terms of, like, being a GM. So, I mean, I guess we'll see. I think a lot of what Mavs Twitter wants is just, it's more geared towards the front office. Like, I don't fault any of the players, like, I'm very pro player, like, get your money, like, do, like,
yeah,
totally fine with that. I would rather, like, it's great if they do well. If they do bad, it's like, oh, well, it happens. But for me personally, it's not towards the players, it's towards the front office,
So if Brunson gets a max this offseason, you're all for it.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, dude, like, whatever. Hey, go get your money. Yeah, like, like, if it's with us, great. Somehow, if it's with someone else, hey, man, like, you earned it at that point,
Ruben, aka Reddit Mavs, one of the best follows on Mavs Twitter. He is maybe the leader of Mavs Twitter at this point. I don't know if they have a leader. Kirk may be up there. Kirk's been there the longest.
Yeah, Kirk has been there the longest. I don't want that responsibility at all. So
okay, the Jon Snow of Mavs Twitter is
yeah. I don't want any of that responsibility. So
there you go. Go follow him on Mavs Twitter, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Absolutely.
Coming up, we're going to talk to Mavs Marie, another member of the Mavs Twitter army, about all the things we just talked about. The expectations for the Mavericks, have they changed? And she has some thoughts on the Mavs center rotation you're going to want to hear. So we'll talk to her coming up. But before we do, you listen to podcasts for the power of knowledge. We tell you all about the Mavs. We talk about what the fans are feeling, what the front office is feeling, what everybody is talking about listening. That's why you listen to us. You switch to Boost Mobile for the power of saving money, because with Boost, you get the power of free 5G phones. You can listen to all of our latest episodes. The power of 3 unlimited data lines for $30 a month per line, so your family can harness all the brain power. So you got the pod power, the phone power, the brain power, and the power of one of America's largest 5G networks. So you can do it all at the speed of 5G. And with all that money you'll save and that knowledge you'll gain, just how powerful could you become? Switch to Boost Mobile and find out. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A32 5G when you switch to one of America's largest 5G networks. Go check it out. Free phone limited to new customers in one line. Additional restrictions apply. Offer coverage not available everywhere or for all phones networks. See boostmobile.com for details. All right, now joining me, another member of Mavs Twitter, the Mavs Twitter army, I guess, Mavs Marie. You can follow her on Twitter at Mavs Marie. Been a Mavs fan for a long time. Mavs Marie, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm super stoked to talk about the Mavs for 10 minutes of my day. It's a good stress relief.
The Mavs are a stress relief for you right now. Tell me more about that, because I'm not sure that the Mavericks are relieving anybody's stress at the moment.
They're not, but like if it's something other than like your normal day-to-day work, then I mean, it's in one way it is a stress relief, but it has been, I mean, going into this season, we were all amped, especially when they went like undefeated in preseason. We were all like, oh, this is it. They're talking the talk, they're walking the walk, we're pumped. And then like these games that we've been watching, I mean, the past 20, 21 games we've had so far.
You said these games, it's like you're offended by them.
I am, because it's like where's the team from preseason when we saw this like energy and fun and like we love the chemistry, and like yes, the chemistry is still there, I feel like, but right now like the energy has just like dropped and it's nowhere to be found. And so that's kind of been a pretty big disappointment. And I know a lot of I know a lot of people aren't exactly looking forward to games anymore, which I don't think I'm one of those people too. Like, I don't think I've ever not looked forward to a Mavs game. Like, I've always wanted to watch them play. And now it's just kind of like, okay. If we do watch them play, like, let's hope they win. But it's just, you get so frustrated when they don't do what you expected.
What do you think is the biggest issue for the Mavs right now? What is the thing that maybe it frustrates you the most, or the reason why you think that they've taken this slide recently?
I really think it's the energy. And, you know, part of me wants to be optimistic, like shout out Optimist Bibs. Part of me really wants to be reasonable and be like, you know what? It is, like Jason Kidd said, it's a new scheme. They're not used to playing defense. Now all of a sudden they're like hustling on defense, and it has been better. And it's this whole new, I mean, they've been used to Rick Carlisle and kind of his madness, and now they have to get used to a whole nother coach. And like, there's this part of me that wants to be reasonable and wants me to be like, you know, get on board. You have to be patient with them. And then I'm just like, I watch them play and I'm like, you're not even giving the new scheme energy. Like, it's just, it's so frustrating. And there are games like a couple games ago when it was against the Pelicans, their first one of the back-to-back. And I mean, that's the team we know and love. And all of a sudden they lost to them the next couple days. So it's just, that's frustrating to see. Like, you've done it once, why can't you do it again?
So you think it comes down to effort?
Yeah, I think it comes down to energy, effort, and consistency. I mean, that's something that the Mavs have really struggled with over the years, consistency. So
yeah, absolutely. They come in and one game they look completely different than the next game, it seems, with this Mavs team,
they hustle you. They literally hustle you. It's a toxic relationship, because one day they are perfect and you're falling in love, ready to commit, and then the next it's like, I need to get out of this relationship or I'm going to be stuck in a never-ending pattern.
What's your relationship status with the Mavs right now? What part of the if it's going to be a pattern, like you said, if it's a cycle, where are you in the cycle?
In the cycle, I'm definitely cautious because, I mean, this is a team I've known for 15 years of my life, and it's always been something that I looked forward to and enjoyed, and I want to give them like my time and attention and my love, but I'm so cautious because I put so much emotional energy in this team and I get angry, and my boyfriend is like, I don't want to be around you when they lose. And I'm like, I don't want to be around them either.
But you just keep coming back, right? Because it's what a fan does.
I can't get enough of them. I'm stuck. So I think cautious is the right word.
You're part of Mavs Twitter. I have you in, I think, in my Mavs like list on Twitter that I have. And Mark Cuban, Jason Kidd, even the Mavs Twitter account themselves have referred to Mavs Twitter as a thing. Mark Cuban sort of blaming Mavs Twitter for things. Jason Kidd saying that, well, we're gonna start Moses Brown now because of Mavs Twitter finally gets what they want and all this. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the franchise, the organization actually addressing Mavs Twitter as if it's this army, this group of fans?
Well, it's funny that we literally live rent-free in their mind. Like, we are at the back of their minds. They know. And it's funny because we are the fans. Like, we sit with them each and every night. We see how they're playing. Like, we're right there with them. And for them to be listening to us, it's like, I mean, I'm honored that you get our tweets and like you recognize that we are caring loudly, as I say. We are very loud with our opinions, but they need to be heard. We see it almost every other night. Like, things need to be changed. Like, this roster, it's incomplete in different ways, especially with people being injured and, COVID being up and around still. Like, you never know what's going to happen with this roster. So having it built correctly and them seeing our tweets and kind of just like ignoring us or being passive aggressive in a way, it's just kind of like, we're part of this equation too. So for them to kind of disrespect us like that, I mean, we do disrespect them, then I mean, I'm not gonna say no.
Hey, at least you can admit, right? It's
of
it's a
course.
two-way street. But yeah, there's a fan, and then there's the organization, right? The organization wouldn't live without the fans.
It's like the holy trinity. It's the fans, it's the team, and it's the front office. And I like to think Mavs Twitter and the fans are God. So at least we should be.
Does that make Nico Jesus or Luka Jesus? I can't.
Yeah.
The metaphor, I think, got away from me.
And then Luka is the Holy Spirit.
What are fans asking for? What is the thing that you feel disrespected by, or you feel like you're asking for that the Mavs organization isn't giving?
I think we really need, if you're kind of talking about roster and what we're asking from.
Sure, yeah.
I think we definitely need a second playmaker. I mean, this is something I've noticed is like when KP and Luka are out, you don't really have anyone strong enough to carry the team. And so it's just kind of like chaos. You know, Tim's not really there yet. I feel like Jalen, he's getting there, but he's not there yet. And we just need a solid veteran that's not Dwight Powell that can I'm sorry, that can really carry the team when KP and Luka are gone, you know? And I really feel like Goran Dragic could really be that missing link, especially because he can put Luka in his place since they have that friendship. I think he can really step in as a veteran role. He knows the playmaking side. He's willing to come off the bench just to play with Luka again. And I think if they add that piece, I think that's a step in the right direction. And then the most obvious pain is just the center issue.
Obviously.
I mean, I don't know. I physically get ill when I see Willie Cauley-Stein on the court. I mean, I'm sure he's a cool dude. He's got a great Instagram going. Maybe he can run the Mavs Twitter. I don't know.
Amazing. Go follow Mavs Marie on Twitter. Great stuff all the time. And yeah, hopefully you'll reconcile with the Mavs and your relationship will go back to the honeymoon phase again.
We will at some point. I mean, we've got 60 more games to go.
That just that gave anxiety to think half the listeners right now. Just half the people, you said 60 more games and a pit just dropped in their stomach.
60 chances.
That's true. Thanks so much.
Of course. Thank you.